There is a linguistic secret that separates amateur drafts from high-impact masterpieces, and it all comes down to the dynamic verb. By swapping said for bellowed or gasped, you transform a flat sentence into a living, breathing experience. Let's bridge the gap between static text and cinematic energy right now. Words have the power to paint pictures, create emotions, and transport readers into entirely different worlds. Among all the parts of speech, verbs are perhaps the most important because they bring sentences to life. A story filled with weak, repetitive verbs often feels flat and uninspiring, while one filled with dynamic action words becomes vivid, exciting, and memorable. Whether you're writing a novel, preparing for an English exam, creating social media content, crafting speeches, or simply trying to improve your writing, learning to replace boring verbs with powerful action words is one of the fastest ways to make your storytelling more engaging. In this lesson, we'll explore how dynamic verbs transform ordinary writing into compelling narratives. Let's begin by understanding what makes a verb boring. Common verbs such as went, looked, said, walked, got, made, did, and came are not incorrect, they're simply overused. Because readers encounter them so frequently, they often fail to create strong mental images. Compare these two sentences: the boy went into the room. Now consider, the boy stormed into the room. The first sentence simply tells us what happened, while the second immediately suggests emotion, urgency, and perhaps even conflict. One stronger verb has completely changed the tone of the story. Consider another example involving the verb walked. Instead of writing, she walked across the street, think about the character's mood or situation. Did she stroll, march, wander, shuffle, stride, tiptoe, race, dash, or limp across the street? Each verb creates a different image. Someone who strolls appears relaxed, someone who marches seems determined, someone who tiptoes is cautious, and someone who dashes is in a hurry. The verb itself tells part of the story without requiring extra explanation. The verb said is another common example. While said is perfectly acceptable in dialogue, constantly repeating it can make conversations feel monotonous. Depending on the speaker's emotion, you might replace it with whispered, shouted, murmured, declared, argued, insisted, explained, remarked, sighed, or exclaimed. Imagine the difference between, I can't believe it, she said, and, I can't believe it, she whispered. The second version immediately creates a more emotional and dramatic scene. Let's examine the verb looked. Instead of repeatedly writing that characters looked at something, choose verbs that describe how they observed it. A character might glance, stare, gaze, peer, scan, glimpse, inspect, or observe. Someone who glances looks briefly, while someone who stares may be surprised or shocked. A person who peers is trying to see something difficult or distant, and someone who gazes often admires what they are looking at. Choosing the right verb adds depth without increasing sentence length. Dynamic verbs are especially important when writing action scenes. Instead of saying, the car went down the road, you might write, the car sped down the road, the car roared down the highway, or, the car raced through the narrow streets. Each version creates greater excitement and helps readers visualize the movement more clearly. Strong action verbs naturally increase the pace and energy of a narrative. Descriptive verbs also improve emotional storytelling. Imagine writing, he held the letter. Now compare it with, he clutched the letter, he unfolded the letter, or, he crumpled the letter. Each verb reveals the character's emotional state. Clutching suggests anxiety or affection, unfolding implies curiosity, while crumpling often indicates frustration or disappointment. Powerful verbs allow readers to infer emotions instead of having them explained directly. Another useful strategy is replacing verb and adverb combinations with one stronger verb. Instead of writing, she walked quickly, write, she hurried. Instead of, he spoke loudly, write, he shouted. Rather than saying, the bird flew quickly, say, the bird swooped. One precise verb is usually stronger than a weak verb combined with an adverb. This approach makes your writing cleaner, more natural, and more professional. Dynamic verbs also strengthen descriptive writing by engaging the senses. Instead of saying, the wind was strong, you might write, the wind howled through the trees. Rather than writing, the fire burned, you could say, the flames crackled and danced. Verbs like howled, crackled, shimmered, echoed, drifted, and sparkled make scenes feel alive because they appeal to readers' imagination. Context is essential when selecting action verbs. Strong verbs should match the tone and situation of the story. For example, the child skipped home creates a cheerful mood, while the prisoner shuffled forward creates a completely different emotional atmosphere. Using dramatic verbs in quiet scenes or gentle verbs in intense action sequences may confuse readers. Always choose verbs that reflect both the action and the emotion of the moment. Reading widely is one of the best ways to build a rich collection of dynamic verbs. As you read novels, biographies, newspapers, and high-quality articles, pay attention to the verbs experienced writers use. Keep a vocabulary journal where you record interesting action words along with example sentences. Revisiting this list regularly will gradually expand your active vocabulary and improve your own writing style. Practice is equally important. Take a paragraph you've already written and highlight every verb. Ask yourself whether each one is the strongest possible choice. Could went become wandered, rushed, or marched? Could looked become glanced, stared, or examined? Could said become whispered, argued, or announced? This simple editing exercise can dramatically improve the quality of your storytelling. It's also important not to overuse unusual verbs. While dynamic verbs are powerful, they should sound natural within the context of the story. If every sentence contains an extremely dramatic verb, readers may become distracted. Effective writing balances simple language with carefully chosen moments of vivid description. Strong verbs should enhance the story rather than draw unnecessary attention to themselves. Many successful authors follow the principle of show, don't tell, and dynamic verbs play a central role in achieving this. Instead of writing, "She was angry," you might write, "She slammed the door and stormed out." Instead of saying, "He was nervous," you could write, "He fidgeted with his watch and avoided eye contact." The actions reveal the emotions more naturally than direct explanations. Finally, remember that storytelling is about creating experiences rather than simply reporting events. Every carefully selected verb helps readers hear, see, and feel what your characters experience. The right action word can create suspense, reveal personality, build emotion, and make ordinary scenes unforgettable. As your vocabulary grows, you'll find yourself writing with greater confidence, precision, and creativity. In conclusion, replacing boring verbs with dynamic action words is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to improve narrative storytelling. Powerful verbs create vivid imagery, strengthen emotional impact, increase clarity, and keep readers engaged from beginning to end. By reading regularly, practicing deliberate editing, and choosing verbs that accurately reflect both action and emotion, you'll transform ordinary writing into compelling stories that leave a lasting impression. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos on English vocabulary, creative writing, storytelling techniques, grammar, communication skills, and advanced English. Leave a comment below with your favorite action verb or rewrite a simple sentence using a stronger verb. Keep writing, keep learning, and see you in the next lesson. Happy learning!